Finally confirmed that my wife is a cheater via pipe. Throwaway account here. It all began a few months ago when things started to feel off in my relationship with my wife. Our intimacy had become less frequent, and she always seemed to have an excuse when I tried to initiate anything. Then, she started coming home later from work and lying about it, claiming that she had forgotten to let me know that she was busy. I started to suspect that something was going on behind my back, but I didn't want to believe it. Eventually, I decided to hire a private investigator to confirm my suspicions, and it didn't take him long to find evidence of my wife's infidelity. She had been meeting up with a man in a parking lot and having sexual encounters with him in the car that I had bought her for her birthday. I was devastated when I confronted her about it, and she tearfully admitted to everything. She told me that her affair partner was a co-worker, and they had been seeing each other for the past 4 months. She begged for my forgiveness and promised to end things with him, but I didn't know what to believe. I asked her to leave and stay somewhere else while I tried to process everything and decide what to do next. I also took back the car that she had been using to cheat on me, as it was in my name. She was angry about it, but I couldn't let her continue to use something that I had given her to be unfaithful to me. To make matters worse, I discovered that she had faked a work trip and used my hard-earned money to go on vacation with her affair partner. It was a huge blow to me, and I couldn't understand why she would do something like that to me. I have always tried to be a good husband to her, to make her happy and be there for her, but now I feel like everything I have given her has been taken advantage of. It's hard to accept that everyone who warned me about her might have been right, and I feel foolish for not seeing the signs earlier. This isn't the first time I've been through something like this. I went through a nasty divorce 15 years ago, and now I find myself facing a similar situation. The only good things to come out of this mess are my son and the fact that I had a solid prenup in place. I don't know what my next steps will be, but I know that I need to take some time to heal and figure out what I want for my future. Redditor's reactions, update after Redditor 1. It sounds like she's well taken care of financially by you. So she gets your wallet and gets the D elsewhere. I'm sorry, that's what it looks like. Op answer. You're right. I was doing everything that I can for her, but took advantage of that. Redditor 2. If the colleague is married, inform his family and workplace. Run STEED tests. Have the child do a DNA test. If you are married to cheating women, you should always have your children DNA tested. Enjoy your new life. Redditor 3. Your partner's infidelity is never your fault. You could have been the worst spouse possible, but all that does is give your partner the right to leave the relationship. It's not a EF whomever you want card. They cheat to satisfy their own emotional shortcoming. It has nothing to do with you. They are just lousy people who betray the one person whom they swore to never hurt just to satisfy their own selfishness. Infidelity is the most intimate betrayal imaginable. The wayward partner has knowingly and intentionally caused their partner pain, misery, and suffering just so the wayward partner can satisfy their own selfishness. It's never a mistake. It's an intentional choice every time. Infidelity is a hard line of no return. If they cheat, the relationship is over. No questions, no discussions. Done. Reconciliation fails in over 90s of cases. It fails because the betrayed partner likely can never overcome that level of betrayal. They are stuck with the images in their heads of their partners engaged in S-time with the app. Their partners doing S-timeable acts with their apps that they refuse to do with them. That's hard to overcome. Further, most cheaters won't do the work necessary to learn why they cheated and fix the issue, so odds are very high that they'll simply cheat again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Nope, if they cheat, it's over. Your Stubuxy was only apologetic because she got caught. She had no intention of ending her affair. She likely still won't. Even if she says she will, she'll just get better at hiding it. Nope, it's time to divorce her and move on and be the best dad you can be. I would also blow up their job by filing a complaint with her. I'm sure their company has a no fraternization policy in place which they violated. Update. Finally confirmed that my wife is a cheater via P. I am grateful for all the support and advice I received from my previous post. After taking a DNA test, I confirmed that my son is biologically mine, which is some good news amidst all the chaos. I have started the process of filing for divorce and my wife has been served. Even though I know divorce is the right decision, I can't help but feel guilty about the impact it will have on my son. It's heartbreaking to see my family being torn apart because of my wife's infidelity. Despite all that she's done, She still continues to beg for another chance, but I'm not sure if I want to go down that road. My wife still refuses to take responsibility for her actions and instead blames me for the affair. She's also using the excuse that she was after something I wasn't willing to provide, and that her affair with the app was only physical and not emotional. However, it's hard to believe that it was just physical when it went on for 4 months and happened 2-3 times a week. I have to admit, I'm still in love with her even though her actions have caused so much pain and destruction. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I am trying to come to terms with the reality that our relationship may not survive this. I find myself wondering if it's worth staying in a relationship with a cheater just to keep the family together. It's a tough decision to make, but I know that I need to put my son's well-being first. As an update, my wife and the app were fired from their jobs, and she is currently seeking new employment. I also found out that the app is single, and my wife claims that he wanted her to leave me for him, but she only wanted physical intimacy and still loves me. It's been a tough few days, and to add to that, my wife has been having some health issues. It's difficult to not be there for her, but I'm trying to focus on what's best for me and my son right now. Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1. Don't be a fool and fall for her blame shifting and gaslighting. Cheating is not a mistake, but full-blown conscious decisions. S. Your son will be better off in the long run, and you will hurt him even more if you stay with her, because it will eat away at you like an acid too.
Oh, boo. She has a lot more karma coming her way, besides losing her job, family, and health, etc.
The only important thing now is to see about your son. Nothing else matters. So have some self-respect and just remember that another man was inside of her too, 3 times a week for 4 months. That sink in. She can have all the meaningless sex she wants now as a single pose of a mother. Redditor follow-up. This, she choose how to act. She didn't come forward and you had to find by your own. Now is your decision. Don't get trapped or manipulated by her. Redditor 2. If she is blaming you, then she is not sorry. If you take her back, expect a repeat. Redditor follow-up. She is only sorry that she was caught and is scared about losing the lifestyle that Op provides because of the prenup. Next time she will be more careful. In her mind, having Op for security and an app for S-time was the perfect arrangement, and as long as Op didn't find out it was okay. Redditor 3. Yes, I did, for a while. I extremely regret every minute I stayed after I found out. It was not worth the anguish I went through. Redditor follow-up. Me too. I actually found a new place to live and was separating. She did not have a job, so everything was in my name, on my account coming out of my pay. What if Sapa wasn't 25? She would have ended up going back to her parents 2 states away. Instead, I changed my mind. Worst mistake I ever made. Years of anguish, regret, lost opportunities for other things. Lesson I learned is, if it is time to walk, then walk and don't change your mind. Story 2. Cheating ex gets screwed over. It's been a turbulent 5 days, and I'm not sure where else to turn, so I'm reaching out to this subreddit. My life has been turned upside down by a single Facebook message from a stranger. I've been in a relationship with someone for nearly 2 years, and this man informs me that my girlfriend has been seeing him for the past 2 months, even though she told me she was visiting her grandparents. I was devastated, but I needed proof, and he had messages and pictures to back up his claim. She eventually admitted to everything, but claimed it was a mistake. Despite her apologies, I had to end the relationship, and she moved out the very next day. Over the past few days, I've been bombarded with messages of regret from my ex-girlfriend, but I've been ignoring them. However, the last message revealed that the man she was seeing had taken $600 from her bank account without her knowledge. She filed a police report and is getting her money back, but I can't help but find it amusing that, after all she's put me through, she's now lost both me and her other man and has been ripped off by him. I didn't seek revenge, but I must admit, it brings me some satisfaction to see her suffer the consequences of her actions. Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1. Sucks that this happened, but I'm glad you found out. Op answer. Yeah, same, so he's a good bloke for letting me know, but a bad bloke for stealing money, but also a good bloke because it gave me a laugh. Redditor 2. Our karma renge would soak this up. Redditor 3. So when is the revenge happening? Dumping a cheater isn't revenge. This may be in the wrong sub. Op answer. The bloke she cheated on me with took $600 out of her account as his revenge to buy stuff. Story 3. Almost make me infertile. I'll ruin your relationships. Back in my school days, I used to attend an all-boys secondary school. I was just 14 years old at the time, and unfortunately, my friends and I were the regular targets of bullying by a group of older guys. As we were typically nerdy boys, we were the perfect candidates for bullying. The only thing that saved us was that we were quite a large group ourselves, so no one person was singled out more than any other. However, the bullying was still brutal and relentless. On the school grounds, there was a small cabin that belonged to the local Boy Scouts, which we used to hang out around during our lunch break. One day, we had a confrontation with the bullies when they tried to steal our football. As we refused to hand it over, I was singled out for punishment. 4 of them grabbed me, each taking hold of an arm and a leg, and carried me around the corner to a small courtyard with a flagpole in the middle. They started punching me as I struggled to break free, but it was no use. Suddenly, they swung me backwards and forwards a few times before swinging my legs apart and slamming me full force into the pole. The pain was indescribable. I felt like my body had been crushed, and I was sure that I had sustained some serious injuries. Luckily, one of my friends had the sense to run for a teacher, and they were spotted by a lookout before the bullies had the chance to take another swing at me. They dropped me and fled the scene. Despite being saved, I was left with some serious physical and emotional scars. I was traumatized and terrified to return to school, always looking over my shoulder in case the bullies came back for me. As a young teenager attending an all-boys secondary school, I was regularly bullied by a group of older students. My friends and I were typical nerds, making us easy targets for these bullies. We used to hang out in a small cabin belonging to the local Boy Scouts during our lunch breaks, but one day the bullies tried to steal our football. I refused to give it up, and as a result, was singled out for punishment. They carried me to a small courtyard with a flagpole in the middle, punched me a few times, and then swung me full force into the pole, causing unimaginable pain. I was taken to the school office, feeling nauseous and in tears, and my mom was called. She found me with an ice pack between my legs and bruises the size of oranges. As we were leaving, my friends gave me a mobile phone that belonged to one of the bullies who had dropped it during their escape. They thought it would be a small way of getting back at him. Later that evening, feeling sorry for myself in my bedroom, I remembered the phone in my blazer pocket when I heard it go off. It was a text message from the bully's girlfriend. I couldn't resist messing with him. As the phone had no sophisticated locks, I had access to all his messages and contacts. I had no idea which bully owned the phone, but I had his name now. I decided to pretend to be someone else and make it look like he was having a secret relationship with a guy he had recently met. The next day, I shared my plan with my friends, and we began messaging him for the rest of the week. I also replied to his girlfriend's messages, but kept them short and less intimate than they were before I took the phone. We arranged for the bully to meet his girlfriend in the local town on Saturday, but I planned to stand her up while my friend texted him to ditch her and come over to his place instead. I agreed and said I would tell her I couldn't make it, but I didn't. On Saturday, we watched from a distance as the bully arrived at the meeting spot and waited for his girlfriend. As soon as she arrived, we could see the disappointment on her face as she looked around for him. My friend texted him saying he was waiting for him, but there was no response. We watched as the girl left, looking sad and confused. In the end, it was just a small way of getting back at him, but it felt good to have some control over the situation. I knew I couldn't continue to let the bullies win, and this was a step in the right direction. I remember feeling utterly humiliated as I was carried to the school office, tears streaming down my face and my stomach churning. My mom was called and she rushed over, only to find me with an ice pack pressed between my legs and my ghoulies swollen to the size of oranges. As she spoke to the receptionist and teacher, my friends appeared and handed me a mobile phone. I was confused. I didn't own a phone, and at that time they weren't as common as they are now. It was a Nokia with an LCD screen, and my friend told me that one of the bullies had dropped it as they ran off. He thought I deserved it as a small way of getting back at them. I took the phone and left with my mom, my mind racing with possibilities. That evening, I lay in bed feeling sorry for myself and had forgotten about the phone in my blazer pocket until I heard it go off. I took it out and saw that the bully had received a text message from his girlfriend. The phone didn't have any sophisticated locks, and the bully hadn't set a passcode, so I had access to everything. I didn't know who the bully was, but I now had his name. I decided to play a prank on him. The next day, I was off school, but when I went back, I talked to my friends about it, and we came up with a plan. One of my friends with a phone was going to message him, pretending to be a guy he'd met recently. We were going to make it look like he'd been having a relationship with him and meeting in secret. We continued to send messages for the rest of the week, and I was also replying to his girlfriend, though I deliberately made my replies shorter and less intimate than they had been before I got hold of the phone. I arranged for my bully to meet his girlfriend in the local town that Saturday, but I was planning to stand her up while simultaneously having my friend text the phone about ditching her to come over to his place instead. I replied, agreeing, and said I'd tell her I couldn't make it. I didn't show up and she was left waiting. I waited in town where we were supposed to meet and saw a girl walk up and wait for a bit. She then got out her phone and typed a text. The phone went off in my pocket, but I ignored it. She waited a few more minutes and texted me again. This time, I walked around the corner out of sight and messaged her back, asking who this was. She flipped out and shouted at me for messing her around. I told her that I had found this phone on the floor of the bus station in that town, and if she knew the owner, I'd come and give it to her so she could return it to the owner if they were nearby. She told me where she was, and I waited 5 minutes before walking around the corner and looking around for her. Eventually, through texting, we found each other, and I gave her the phone. She thanked me, and we went our separate ways. On Monday, I told my friends that we had pulled it off and that we just had to wait and see what happened. It wasn't long into the week when gossip started spreading through the school. The bully's girlfriend had read his messages and had dumped him for having a gay affair. On top of that, she'd gone to his house on Sunday and called him out in front of his parents, who were not fans of that sort of thing at all. When he denied it, she pulled out the phone and read out message after message. His claims that he had lost it over a week ago were Redditors' reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1. Ducking hell even as a girl and without a detailed description. That assault was brutal. I enjoyed the ending though. Lost the girl, lost his mates, lost his family. Comprehensive vengeance. If only all those little sits had received similar punishment. Op answer. To be fair, the school did its best, but they were always fighting a losing battle. The bullying didn't actually stop for me until my last year there for reasons I'm not proud of. Redditor 2. I think this suits more in a pro-revenge. Op answer. I thought about it, but they seemed quite picky about the revenge going above and beyond. I wasn't sure that it did, seeing as the crime was so bad, for me at least, so I thought I'd try it out here first. Redditor 3. Tried to be regular, ended up being nuclear. Well played. Op answer. Shame he had such city parents. You don't see the homophobic stance as much nowadays in England. Story 4. Fiancé cheated and dumped me because I put all of my money into Bitcoin back in 2013. So, I was hanging out with a friend when the subject arrived at my ex-fiancé. Then I realized this history was too juicy to not be shared. So, back in the day, I started buying Bitcoin. I wasn't a serious buyer. I just thought it was a neat thing. I had just proposed to my ex and things were pretty good. I started learning more about the whole concept of a decentralized currency, how modern banking is destroying the economy and government-produced currencies have been melting through the years. It just made so much sense, so I started seriously buying more. At first, my ex didn't mind. She used to make condescending comments about me buying Monopoly money and how stupid it sounded. Things started to go sour when I told her. All my savings were now in Bitcoin. She was livid, called me an immature, irresponsible man-child. How dare I put our future together in jeopardy buying stupid things? I tried to explain to her many times the concepts behind it and how a currency that is deflationary by default had to increase its value. She didn't bought any of it, always with condescending comments about my cognitive abilities. I reminded her that it were my savings on the line. I would never demand or ask for her to invest in something she wasn't comfortable with. She argued that it didn't matter, the money was mine. We were starting a future together, and I had to consider our financial security before putting all my money in stupid things. We were never the same after that fight. After that, maybe a bit out of spite, I doubled down on Bitcoin. I sold my car and bought more. I was overweight and lost 25 pounds biking to work. We started to resent each other more day after day. About a year after the big fight, I discovered she was ducking a coworker of hers. A shoulder to cry on became a deep deck to ride on. After a nasty fight, she took the ring off, threw it at me, saying, "I hope when you're bankrupt and alone, you finally realize how stupid you are." She started dating the coworker not long after. Her family sided with her and all hate my guts. Those were tough times. The price kept going down. I doubted myself many times, but I held on. Needless to say, my investment paid off. After the first surge, I sold some of it, made profit over my initial investment and kept some, and then bought back when it hit 5K. I won't go into details about my finances, but let's just say I don't really have to worry about money anymore. My ex became just a distant memory after so much happened. Last week, I met an old friend that used to live abroad. He is a common friend of me and my ex. We had a good time catching up until the topic became my ex. Apparently, she married that coworker, had a couple of kids, and was living the life she thought impossible with me. Good for her, I thought. Well, that was the case until her husband's business went under because of COVID, and she found out about his affair with a 20-year-old sugar baby. Now they're amidst a nasty divorce procedure and financial trouble. I would be lying if I say I don't feel just a bit happy about her demise. It is the cherry on top of my whole story. It just makes it too juicy not to share. I'm thinking about sending her a Christmas card this year. Redditor's reaction. Redditor 1. Skip the Christmas card and keep it classy. Living well is the best revenge and you're already doing it. Redditor 2. I mean, it is kind of dumb to invest all your savings in one thing. That's why people diversify. Redditor follow-up. Yeah, I can kind of see why she was upset. Even though it's not her money, it showed a side of him that was impulsive and irresponsible, which is concerning for someone you're going to spend the rest of your life with. That said, she still shouldn't have cheated. Glad it all worked out for Op, though. I've made some money myself in Bitcoin, so I'm not knocking it. I just wouldn't invest my entire savings in it, or any other single investment. Redditor 3. I agree with what you said about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and governmental currencies. However, I have to also agree with your ex-fiancé that putting all of your money into the same pool is kind of risky. It's basically an all-or-nothing gamble. That's not a bad thing if you're not risk-averse. Your ex, however, apparently was rather risk-averse, which made you two incompatible. It's for both of your benefit that this came out sooner rather than later, after a wedding with her getting half of your Bitcoin turnover. Redditor 4. I mean, honestly, I'm happy it turned out good for you, but I would have been devastated if my long-term partner invested 100 of his savings into one high-risk asset. Redditor 5. The best revenge you can get is forgetting she ever existed. Don't send her a Christmas card. That's just petty. You did something super risky and it paid off. You could very well be living in a crappy one-bedroom apartment and biking to your job at a dead-end minimum wage job right now too if things had panned out differently. Count your blessings and move on with your life. Redditor follow-up. You did something super risky and it paid off. That's usually the way it works out. Big risk. Either pays off really well or you lose pretty much the lot. Rarely is there an in-between state. It takes a certain personality, and that's not me. But my current CO is, and he's won big, lost big, and come back to win even bigger this time around. Awesome guy, has a microbrewery, restores old motorcycle,